All right, so for what feels like forever, the story of quantum computing has been super simple, right? More qubits equals more power. But what if that whole idea was, well, kind of just an illusion? Today, we're going to dig into a huge shift in the quantum race. It's a move away from just counting the parts to actually building perfection. This is all about the rise of the logical qubit. So let's just jump right in with a question that might sound a little crazy. You see the headlines about these incredible machines with over 1,000 qubits, and you imagine this limitless power. But here's the hard truth. Without a totally new approach, all that power can just dissolve. It can turn into pure static, where the output is basically just spitting out random garbage. And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. You see, the old race was a flat-out sprint to cram more and more physical qubits onto a chip. But we've kind of hit a wall with that strategy. The new race, the one that actually matters now, is all about building better qubits. We're talking about robust, self-correcting, logical qubits. This is the moment we go from just experimental physics to some serious fault-tolerant engineering. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll pull back the curtain on that 1,000-qubit illusion. Then, we'll meet our hero, the logical qubit. We'll even explore the competing blueprints for how to build them. After that, we'll look at the recent breakthroughs that prove this is all becoming a reality, see how it completely rewrites the timeline for breaking encryption, and finally, we'll check out who's who in this new race for quantum leadership. Okay, first up, the 1,000-qubit illusion. Let's get right into why just piling on more of the same old qubits is a dead end. It all comes down to something I like to call the exponential tyranny of noise. So you start with a number that looks fantastic. I mean, state-of-the-art 2-qubit operations can be 99.9% accurate. That's just one tiny error in 1,000 operations. On the surface, that sounds incredibly reliable, doesn't it? But here's the catch. The real danger in quantum computing is that these tiny errors, they compound. They build on each other like a snowball rolling downhill, creating this cascade of failures. So what do you think happens after you run a pretty modest calculation, maybe just 1,000 steps deep? Bam! Your probability of getting the right answer just plummets to about 36%. You've already lost almost 2/3 of your calculation's integrity. Those tiny individual errors have ganged up and basically overwhelmed the entire system. And you know what? It gets worse. And it gets worse fast. The kinds of problems we actually want to solve with these machines, they need millions or even billions of operations. So what happens as that calculation keeps on running? Your probability of success effectively hits 0. The final output is just garbage, a random string of ones and zeros. And that, right there, is why a current generation 1,000-qubit machine, what we call a noisy or NISQ computer, can't crack encryption. It literally drowns in its own noise long before it ever gets to the answer. So, how in the world do you solve an exponential noise problem? You can't just make the parts a tiny bit better. You need a whole new way of thinking. And this is where our hero enters the story, the logical qubit. You see, a logical qubit isn't really a physical thing. It's more like a process, an abstraction. Think of it like this. Instead of one superstar player, you have a whole team of kind of unreliable players, but the team as a whole is way more reliable than any single one of them. It works by encoding the information of one single perfect qubit across a whole bunch of noisy physical ones. Now, the really clever part here is how this whole thing gets around some fundamental rules of quantum mechanics. You can't just copy a qubit to see if it has an error. So instead, this quantum error correction, or QEC, does this 3-step dance. First, you spread the information out. Second, you use these special ancilla qubits to check on the relationships between the data qubits. This tells you if an error happened and where, without ever messing with the data itself. And third, you apply a targeted fix. It's this incredibly elegant, self-correcting system. But, there isn't just one way to build this self-correcting system. And that's a matter of intense debate and competition. It's kicked off what you could call the Great Code Wars. Totally different architectural philosophies for how to achieve fault tolerance, and each one is tied to a specific type of hardware. So broadly speaking, the hardware falls into two big camps. On one side, you've got these fixed grids, like the superconducting chips from Google and IBM, where the qubits are basically printed onto a 2D checkerboard. On the other side, you have these rewirable atoms. We're talking neutral atoms or trapped ions that you can literally move around with lasers to change the computer's connections on the fly. And that hardware choice, it dictates everything about which error-correcting code you can even use. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty, because this is where the strategy comes in. With the surface code, which is what the superconducting folks use, it's great because it only needs to talk to its next-door neighbors. Simple. But look at its overhead. It's huge. You might need thousands of physical qubits just to make one good logical one. In contrast, these quantum LDPC codes, which need those flexible connections you get with neutral atoms, promise a much lower overhead. So that's the big strategic gamble in quantum today: high overhead with simple connections, or low overhead with way more complex ones. Now, for years, all of this was just theory. It was stuff on a whiteboard. But recently, a series of absolutely stunning breakthroughs have proved that the logical science era isn't just coming, it's already here. Let's look at the evidence. And just look at how fast this is all moving. It's incredible. It's all happening within months of each other. So, late 2024, Google's Willow chip proves the theory: make a logical qubit bigger and it gets exponentially better. Right around the same time, Microsoft and atom computing showed off scale by entangling a record 24 logical qubits. Then, Quantinuum hits this massive milestone called computational break-even, proving that a calculation on a logical qubit was actually cleaner than on its physical parts. All the pieces are falling into place. Okay, so this is cool lab stuff, right? But it has massive, and I mean massive, real-world implications, especially for cybersecurity. That finish line for breaking modern encryption, a moment people call Q-Day, well, it just got a whole lot closer. For the longest time, everyone pointed to this one number from a paper back in 2019. It estimated you'd need about 20 million noisy physical qubits to break the common RSA 2048 encryption that secures, well, pretty much everything. And that massive number, it made the threat feel comfortably far away. But this is where the story takes a wild turn. This table compares that old 2019 estimate to a brand new analysis from 2025, and the number of qubits needed, it drops by about 20 times. And get this, the most amazing part is how this happened. It wasn't because the hardware got better, it was the software. New algorithmic tricks with cool names like magic state cultivation found way more efficient ways to do the math. It was a software revolution. And here it is, the punchline. The new estimate is less than 1 million physical qubits. We just went from 20 million down to under a million, basically overnight, just because of smarter software. This completely collapses the timeline for Q-Day. We're not talking about decades away anymore. We're talking something potentially on the 2030 to 2032 horizon. So this just reshuffles the entire deck. The question is no longer who has the most qubits. The real question now is who has the best path to building thousands of logical qubits. Let's take a look at this new strategic landscape. We basically have three big strategies playing out right now. You've got the neutral atom platforms. They're the scaling champions, poised to win the race for the most logical qubits, thanks to those low overhead codes. Then you have the superconducting players. They are the speed demons. Their gates are thousands of times faster, which is a huge advantage if they can get the scale. And finally, you have the trapped ion systems. They're the fidelity kings. Their qubits are so clean they can do really complex things with fewer logical qubits. And that really brings us full circle, doesn't it? The true dawn of the quantum age wasn't the day we built the first qubit. It was the moment we proved we could tame its errors. The logical qubit is the only one that really matters now. And with the timeline for its power accelerating so fast, the final question isn't if this future is coming, but simply, are we ready for it?